jail school teacher Enoch Burke was back before the High Court yesterday. The High Court judge, Judge Moore, rejected as scurrilous and utterly without merit criticisms made by Burke about members of the judiciary. Mr. Justice Brian O'Moore was dealing with the matter yesterday, and he rebuffed and rejected allegations of wrongdoing made by Burke against judges who have made rulings in proceedings brought by the teacher's employer, Wilson's Hospital School in Westmeath. Burke has been in jail since September in Mountjoy for the breach of a court order, and he's in jail in Mountjoy for contempt of court. His application before the court yesterday, Monday, was to have the Court of Appeal heard before the High Court hearing of the substantive issue, the substantive dispute between him and Wilson's Hospital. So he wants the Court of Appeal heard first, whereas the other side, Wilson's Hospital's counsel, wants the High Court action to go ahead. In any case, it's listed for February next. That's the substantive issue between him and the school, and the Court of Appeal matter can be dealt with after that. So Burke is looking to have it first. He claims that he was jailed over his objection to transgenderism in breach of his constitutional rights to freedom and religion and religious practice. The school's Board of Management rejects that contention. They say that the case is about Burke's refusal to comply with the terms of his paid suspension from his employment. In other words, the school are saying that this is simply an employment law matter where they commenced an investigation, they suspended him with pay, he was to stay away from the school and he refused to stay away. The school then got an injunction to keep him away and he ignored that. And then the school went to the High Court and said to the High Court, here's a High Court order that you've made, ordering him by way of an injunction to stay away from the school, but he's in breach of it. And the High Court then jailed him. That's why he's in Mountjoy Prison. He's appealing the High Court decision to put injunctions in place preventing him from teaching at or attending the school until the case has been fully determined. He's appealing the High Court decision to put those injunctions in place. The dispute over the injunction centres on the school's entitlement to bring internal disciplinary proceedings against Mr. Burke arising out of alleged gross misconduct. His appeal then against the injunctions and other issues are due to be heard by the Court of Appeal in mid-February. He said in his submissions that he wants his appeal to be heard before the full hearing. So the Court of Appeal is to be heard in mid-February. I said earlier in this video that the full hearing or the substantive hearing of the matter is to be held in February. That's not the case. My source here is the Irish Times newspaper. They were in court yesterday and that's a mistake. His full hearing, the substantive hearing, I don't believe is February. The Court of Appeal is scheduled for mid-February, but he wants that heard before the substantive hearing between him and the school. The reason for this is he said he's a strong chance of success in his appeal against the High Court orders over a disciplinary process that he described as manifestly unlawful. He said that the High Court orders against him should be set aside as a fundamentally wrong, a miscarriage of justice and shameful. Mr. Justice Max Barrett, he said, had stated that the case was not about transgenderism. Burke says that this is fundamentally not the case, that it is about transgenderism. Burke also said that he opposes Miss Justice Eileen Roberts' finding when she dismissed his application for an order to end his suspension from work, that the case was not about his religious belief and his right to freely express his deeply held Christian beliefs. Mr. Burke is contending that various High Court judges acted in breach of his rights which are enshrined in the Constitution. And by making the orders that resulted in his imprisonment, he said the judges were not adhering to the oath of office they took before God. The court's decisions, he said, heralded a dark day for religious freedoms, and it was imperative those orders are heard first by the Court of Appeal. So, as I say, he wants the Court of Appeal hearing first before the substantive issue between him and the school. He described the school's case against him as an abomination, but said he has no objection to the full hearing proceedings after the appeal has occurred. The school, represented by Rosemary Mallon BL, opposed Mr. Burke's application for a stay on grounds including that he would not be prejudiced by any early hearing, and that even if he was successful in his appeal, the dispute must be fully heard by the High Court. So the school's position is they want an early hearing of the substantive issue between Burke and the school. Burke wants the Court of Appeal hearing to go ahead first before the substantive issue. The judge in this case noted that Burke's remarks comparing Irish judges to ones who presided in totalitarian regimes, including in the former USSR, China and North Korea. Mr. Justice O'Moore said that while he allowed the teacher to make submissions to the court without interruption, he wanted to make it clear that Mr. Burke's allegations against named members of the Irish judiciary were, quote, utterly without merit. He also said Mr. Burke's language was, quote, inappropriate when he described judges as presiding over a cover-up or a stitch-up against Mr. Burke and his beliefs. The judge also reminded Mr. Burke of a quote from Jesus in the Bible known as the Golden Rule, that one should do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That was a fundamental Christian teaching, and the judge doubted whether Mr. Burke's references to the judges and other people could be applied to that quotation. He said he'd give his ruling on the stay application in due course. However, it would not be possible to have the full dispute before Christmas. Burke remains in Mountjoy over his refusal to comply with an injunction to stay away from and not teach at the County Westmeath School. So, if it's not possible to have the full dispute heard before Christmas, and if the Court of Appeal hearing, which is set for February, then the likelihood is that Burke will be in jail in Mountjoy for a while yet. That's really it. As I say, his appeal is appealing various High Court decisions, including the granting of an injunction which is to remain in place until the full dispute has been decided. He has been in jail in Mountjoy since September. The school basically says that his refusal to comply with the injunction was disruptive to the school's students. Burke, in a counterclaim, says he should never have been the subject of a disciplinary process after he expressed his objections to the school's direction to its staff regarding how to address a student. So Mr. Justice Brian O'Moore is going to issue his decision in this application in due course, he says, and this application is for a stay on the full substantive case between Burke and the school until he has had his circuit court appeal. Hope you find this video informative. If you do, I'd appreciate if you gave it the thumbs up down below, and I'd be interested to hear and see, or read rather, your views on this case involving the jailed school teacher Enoch Burke. Thanks a lot.